Hi students, in the previous classes we discussed the rigorous solution method and how to evaluate ABCD constants of a long transmission line, and we have seen a problem on this ABCD constants long transmission line, and we calculated efficiency regulation using rigorous solution method obtained values. Now in today's class we are going to see a few topics which are related to the short bit answers type, like 4 marks or 3 marks concepts. So we are going to see first of all the propagation constant. Propagation constant gamma. The definition of this propagation constant gamma is, it is mathematically defined as square root of the product of series impedance and shunt admittance. Why we have used here small letters? Because for a long transmission line the elements Z and Y are distributed elements. That is why we used here small letters. So gamma is equal to root of Zy is the propagation constant. Since Z is equal to R plus J XL and Y is equal to G plus J BC, these two are in the complex notation having real part and imaginary part. Then the product of the Z and Y with under root called as gamma. Gamma is equal to square root of Y into Z will be written as square root of R plus J XL multiplied with G plus JB. On producting these two and making square root, we get this gamma as complex value having some real part alpha plus j beta. On doing simplification with these two products and making under root, we get a complex solution, we get a complex answer whose value is gamma, which is equal to alpha plus j beta, where this alpha is called as, the real part of this propagation constant is called as attenuation constant. Attenuation constant, whose unit is, it was measured in Nepers per meter length or Nepers per unit length. Okay, and the imaginary part beta is called as phase constant. We also seen in the last discussion that the propagation of the wave, depending upon the propagation of the wave, how the magnitude and phase angles are also going to vary, called as a physical interpretation of the transmission line, long transmission line. So in that physical interpretation of the long transmission line, we come across this alpha and beta. Alpha is called as attenuation constant, whose unit is Nepers per meter length, and beta is phase constant, whose unit is radians per meter length, called as per unit length. Okay, so this alpha and beta gives us the magnitude operator and phase angle operator respectively. Magnitude operator and phase operator respectively. This is about propagation constant, and as I told you in the starting of our today's class, we are discussing the short bit answers. Okay, so where you can expect this type of questions from this unit. Explain the following terms: 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. The first may be propagation constant, next wavelength, next velocity of the propagation wave, and next like that, so on. We will have small bits all together. They may ask it as a big question, right? So all these are short answer bits. So propagation constant is this part with alpha plus j beta. And coming to the next one is wavelength. The next one is wavelength. Wavelength is represented with letter lambda. Okay, whose unit is in general in terms of meters, because it's a length. It is defined or measured in meters. Then what is the definition of the wavelength? So it is defined as the length of the line at which for which the voltage or current in that line undergoes a phase constant of 2 pi radians. I repeat once again, what is meant by wavelength? The wavelength is represented with lambda, which is defined for a transmission line, and we took the transmission line will be a very long distance of the line. Out of that long distance of the line, the wavelength is the line for which the voltage or current in that transmission line undergoes a phase shift or phase value of 2 pi radians. So if you observe any voltage or current has undergone for 2 pi radians as its phase shift, then we can consider that how much the wave has been traveled over the line of the length, that much length is called as wavelength. So what I mean to say is lambda is the length identified in the transmission line for the quantity called either voltage or current which undergoes a phase shift of 2 pi radians. Okay, so for alpha meters it is identified as per the definition, it should cover 2 pi radians. Then what is beta in our definition? The beta in our definition is it is a phase constant done those many radians, beta radians, for how many meters of the length? 1 meter of the length. I mean to say here, for 1 meter of the length equivalent to lambda, because lambda is also in meters. So I am correlating this lambda wavelength and phase constant with a generalized formula. We get in that as for lambda it took 2 pi radians as a phase shift. As per the definition of the phase constant, for 1 meter length the angle should be undergone is called as beta. This we know in the previous discussion. Then the relation between them are lambda beta should be equal to 2 pi. This is the relation. Then the wavelength lambda can be written as 2 pi by beta meters. 2 pi by beta meters. This is wavelength lambda. Oh, so what is definition of wavelength? Wavelength is represented with lambda whose unit is meters, and it is the quantity identified in the transmission line for which the voltage or current waveform should travel on the long line for certain distance, and that distance is identified here in a specific way, such a way that whenever that voltage or current undergoes a phase shift of 2 pi radians, then that length is called as wavelength. So mathematically I want to correlate this wavelength lambda with phase constant beta, because the wavelength definition itself is related with the phase constant. That is why I want to give the mathematical formula for lambda in terms of beta. So as per the definitions, lambda is identified for 2 pi radians, whereas beta definition itself, it is the radians undertaken for 1 meter length. So observing this, the following relation should happen, that is lambda beta is equal to 2 pi, where lambda is equal to 2 pi by beta meters. Okay, so this is important. Then after this wavelength, what is the next topic is? The next topic is, we know that over a long transmission line the voltage and current is propagating. That propagating voltage or current will have its own attenuation constant and phase constant. For that voltage and current we can define the wavelength. And now let us see what is the velocity. What is the velocity of the wave which is propagating? Simply we call it as velocity of the propagating wave. Propagating wave. This is our next concept. Velocity of the propagating wave, which is represented with the letter V small p. Velocity of the propagating wave. As all of us know that the definition of the velocity, it is the rate of displacement, that is distance by time. So what is the distance here? It should be the length. So we know the definition, it is the rate of displacement, that is displacement by time. But observing here, the displacement should be done with the quantity called as voltage or current. The voltage or current wave is moving over the transmission line for certain length. Since it is moving over certain length, we have to define in terms of its distance. Its distance, previously just now we discussed that length to be wavelength. So in the place of displacement, I can write it as wavelength. Because for the quantity of voltage or current, we measure the distance in terms of their wavelengths divided by the time taken for a specific period with its frequency known value. So that the velocity of the propagating wave Vp is equal to the wavelength is identified as lambda divided by time. The reciprocal of the time is the frequency. The reciprocal of the time is the frequency, because alternating quantities are passing on the transmission line, either AC voltage or AC current, which are having its own frequency. That frequency is identified as small f. Then the velocity of the propagating wave is given by lambda. Previously we defined this lambda to be as 2 pi by beta. Then I'll write this as 2 pi by beta into frequency. Then we can write this as 2 pi f is angular velocity omega divided by beta. So finally, the velocity of the propagating wave Vp is equal to omega angular velocity 2 pi f value divided by beta phase constant, which was defined in radians, and this is also in radians per second. If then we can write this and convert that into meters per second. Okay, so this is about the velocity of the propagating wave, an important concept, right? And next, so far what we discussed is three topics. They are propagation constant gamma, which is equal to root z into y, and next wavelength lambda, which is equal to 2 pi by beta, and the third concept is the velocity of the propagating wave Vp, which is equal to 2 pi f by beta, that is angular velocity omega by beta. Okay, the next is the very important surge impedance. Follow to the surge impedance, we are going to discuss surge impedance loading, SIL, which gives the entire analysis of the transmission line. Okay, then what is this surge impedance? The surge impedance is represented with letter capital Z with suffix naught, Z naught or ZC. Characteristic impedance is also called as surge impedance. Then what is difference between characteristic impedance and surge impedance? Let us see. So here this is a surge impedance. In general, how to identify this surge impedance and what is the significance of this surge impedance in the transmission line? Let us see. So in general, for a transmission line, if you check it with a black box, which are having two ports called as receiving end port and sending end port, this entire transmission line is made up of with elements Z and Y. Z and Y as series and shunt branches respectively. Z is a series element and Y is a shunt element. They can be formed with different structures like T or pi as per our analysis, required analysis. And these are the two ports where we identified this as capital V voltage on the receiving end side and capital I as the current on the sending end side. Okay. Then because of this Z having a component called R plus JX reactance and also admittance, which is defined as G plus JB, having susceptance with capacitor So there are two energy storing elements in the entire transmission line. They are inductor and capacitor. Since this is of AC transmission line having Z and Y with elements as inductors and capacitors respectively, there will be three types of the powers in our distribution, that is in our transmission line concept. They are the useful power called as active power, and the second one is called as reactive power, wattless power Q, and the next is apparent power S. Out of these three elements, all of us know that the actual generated power will be apparent S value. Out of this S, it will be having real and imaginary powers called as active and reactive. So out of this active and reactive, active power will be useful for our loading. That is why we call it as wattful power, whose unit is watts. And the other one is reactive power. The reactive power is wattless power, where it is represented with letter Q, and the unit is volt ampere reactive. Here we have to understand a concept that, so the capacitor, all these are salient points. The capacitor generates, if at all if there is a capacitor element, then the capacitor element always generate the volt ampere reactive power. So capacitor generates VAR, volt ampere reactive volt amperes, imaginary power, that is wattless power. So because why it generates volt ampere means the capacitor is considered as var generator because it draws the leading current. With reference to the voltage, you can observe now the currents to be either leading or lagging. The element, if it is taking as a leading current, then that element is having a property which will generate the reactive power. If with the same voltage as reference, if the element is taking the current, absorbing the current in lagging nature, then the characteristics or the features of that element is it absorbs the reactive power. So here two concepts are I am explaining. They are var generator and var absorber. Absorption of volt ampere reactive and generation of volt ampere reactive. So the capacitor, because of taking leading current when are connected as a shunt element, then its property and its features will be it acts as a var generator, whereas the inductor, which is connected as a series branch, will absorbs the same var component. So var generator and var absorber. Okay. So here I want to fix a load on the receiving end side. Let me call it as ZL, load impedance ZL. So depending upon this load impedance ZL, the current I will decide. Okay. So because of this I passing through the network, then the volt ampere reactive generation and volt ampere reactive absorption takes place. Magnitudes of that VAR generation and VAR absorption takes place. Means the magnitudes of this VAR generation, VAR absorption purely depends upon I, that is passing in the network, and this I depends upon ZL. Okay. So at certain amount of the load, if you vary this load being a variable, if you vary that load being a variable, then I varies. So at one certain load we can observe that the var generator magnitude will be equal to var absorber. What I mean to say is generated volt ampere reactive VAR generation will be equal to VAR absorption How do we equate these two? By varying the load. So by varying the nature of the load. So at some point of the load, at one point of the load, we can observe that var generator will be equal to var absorption. Such a load wherever it happens, this condition is fulfilled. The load at which this condition is fulfilled is called as surge impedance loading. Surge impedance loading. SIL. Very important. Okay. So, as per the theoretical definition, what we came to know is, we came to know here the surge impedance loading. What is surge impedance loading? This is the amount of the load at which in the transmission line the VAR generation will be equal to VAR absorption. Then what is VAR generation and VAR absorption? The VAR generation and VAR absorption are, let me see the VAR generation. The VAR generation means the reactive power generated in the transmission line is equal to, so reactive power VAR generated is equal to V into I, where I is called as V by XC. As I told you, capacitor generates the volt ampere reactive. That is why volt ampere reactive is nothing but volt amperes, voltage into current. So the voltage is identified as V and the current is identified as I is equal to V by XC. Then I can write this as V square by XC, which is equal to V square. 1 by XC is nothing but omega C. Then I can write this as V square omega C as VAR generation. And coming to the VAR absorption, VAR absorbing, consuming, how much VAR it is consuming. So the absorption of the volt ampere reactive takes place with inductive element. Then the voltage across this is V multiplied by the current, volt ampere reactive. So voltage into current, and the current should be exclusively for the reactance elements. Here also if you check it, volt ampere reactive, the product of voltage and current. This current I took exclusively for only XC as an element. Similarly here also I will take this as V into I. What is I? I is equal to V by XL. V by XL. Then we can write this as V square by omega L. V square by omega L. Then as per our definition, the load at which VAR generation is equal to VAR absorption happens is called as surge impedance loading. Then I can equate this V square omega C and V square by omega L. Then I can write this as the voltage. In other words, we can write this in terms of current, because capacitor always deals with voltage, electrostatics, whereas inductor always deals with currents. Then I can write this as V into I, where V is equal to I into XL multiplied by I, which is equal to I square XL, which is equal to I square XL. Therefore, as per the definition, we have to equate V square omega C and I square, what is XL? Omega L. Equate those two as per our definition. V square omega C is equal to I square omega L. Omega get cancelled on both sides. Then we can take the ratio of the voltage to the current whole square as L by C. What is V by I? Just now I told you, in our network representation, this V is the receiving end voltage, I is the receiving end current with a variable impedance of Z. And we have identified this Z to be specific Z, where this volt ampere generation will be equal to volt ampere absorption. Whenever these two are equal, we will call that impedance to be maintained as surge impedance, and the loading is called as surge impedance loading. Then you can tell here V by I ratio. How you got this V by I ratio? By equating the VAR generation and VAR absorption. Since we equated there and followed the definition, I can write this V by I as surge impedance Z0. Z0 is equal to square root of L by C. Very important. Means you have to terminate this transmission line with an impedance equal to root of L by C. What is L and C there? L is the inductance of this entire transmission line and C is the capacitance of this entire transmission line. So if you want to run the transmission line at its surge impedance loading, then what to do is, first you have to identify the inductance and next the capacitance of the transmission line. Take the ratio of those two with square root. Then you will get that root of L by C, whose unit is ohms. And this Z0 characteristic, if you observe, it will be a pure resistive element. Resistive element. You may ask me now, how we can say that it is a resistive element? The magnitude is root of L by C, okay. How you fixed that unit as ohms and why it is a resistive element? Because as we know that for a Z and Y network, whenever this XL is equal to XC property, then it is under some resonance condition. Under resonance, the circuit will behave like a pure resistive circuit. So this entire line is a transmission line, now acting as an pure resistive. So that much amount of load I am placing here called as resistive load now. Then the features of this transmission line under this SIL, surge impedance loading. Under this surge impedance loading, the features are the voltage and current at any point, both of them are in phase. And the impedance on the load side is called as Z0, whose value is equal to root of L by C, and it's a pure resistive network. We can consider it as a resistor whose unit is ohms. And now let us see what is the magnitude of the power of this delivery power. So the delivery power is, let me assume that power during surge impedance loading for a single phase network, it is equal to V phase I phase cos phi. Since this is a unity power factor acting as a pure resistor, cos phi will be 1. Then I can write this as Vp into Ip, V phase into I phase. Then what is this I phase? As I know that the voltage V by I is equal to Z0, characteristic impedance or surge impedance V by I is equal to Z0. From here I can write this I as I is equal to Vp by Z0. This is Ip value. Then the power single phase value with the surge impedance loading can be considered as Vp. Ip I am substituting as Vp by Z0, which is equal to Vp square by Z0. We also know that the V phase is equal to VL by root 3. If at all, this is for star connection. If at all, if you want to go for 3-phase power with the surge impedance loading, then we can write this as 3 V phase square by Z0, because this is per phase power. If you know the per phase power being symmetrical system, we will multiply it with 3, then we will get the 3-phase power. 3 Vp square by Z0. My intention is I want to write this 3-phase power under surge impedance loading with line voltages. Then convert this phase voltage to line voltage. What you can get is 3 into V phase square, that is VL square by 3 divided by series impedance, that is surge impedance Z0. 3 get cancelled and you can write this as line voltage VL square by Z0. Line voltage VL square by Z0. So that now the power value under surge impedance loading condition with a 3-phase system is defined as VL square by Z0. Once if this is calculated, it plays a major role in deciding the nature of the transmission line and the power transfer capability of that transmission line. In general, we are erecting the transmission line with very large amount of installation cost. So since we are spending that much amount of rupees, we have to manage the transmission line to be delivered with maximum amount of powers. Means we have to maximize this power value. We have to increase this capacity of the line, which is possible with 2 sides. There, first one is either it is possible by increasing voltage or by decreasing Z0. Will be further continued in the next class.